Oh. Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kurume Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Hari Om and good evening from Cleveland. In Balakanda of Ramayana, Goswamiji is trying to teach us that for the birth of Bhagavan Rama to happen, there has to be faith and trust, Shraddha and Vishwas. And he narrates this by introducing Mother Sati. Mother Sati questions Bhagavan Shiva's trust that Bhagavan Rama is infinite, that Bhagavan Rama is Brahman. So Mother Sati conceives the idea that she should go and test Bhagavan Rama. So she disguises herself as Mother Sita. And when she goes towards Bhagavan Rama in the forest, Bhagavan Rama greets what is supposed to be Mother Sita, but is actually Mother Sati. Bhagavan Rama greets her as Mother Sati. And she's taken aback by this because she thinks that she looks like Mother Sita. And in her discomfort, in her fear, as she's going back to Kailasha to be with Bhagavan Shiva, in every direction, what does she see? The Ram Darbar. She keeps seeing Bhagavan Rama and Mother Sita and Sri Lakshmana everywhere. In the forest, in the mountains, in the sky, she just keeps seeing them everywhere. And Mother Sati realizes that she lacked faith, which is why she gave up that particular name and form and then took on a new name and form as Mother Parvati, and she gets married to Bhagavan Shiva. You don't hear about Sati and Shiva, correct? You hear about Parvati and Shiva, and that is the marriage of faith and trust. And only afterwards does Bhagavan Rama manifest in Ramayana. The reason that I'm sharing all of this, in chapter 7 of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna uses a very powerful statement. He says, Eka bhaktir vishishyate. Eka bhaktihi vishishyate. And that means the one who God loves is the best. Now that's almost a given. God loves you. God loves me. Right? So I can also feel that I'm the best. Thinking about this statement more, you can also interpret it as the one who loves God is the best. That's more rare, isn't it? God loving us is universal, but for one of us to love God as Eva, as alone, that person is the best. And the only way to love God is to know God. Without that jnana, there can never be vijnana. Without us becoming quieter in mind. I said jnana is that which quietens the senses, quietens the mind. Without that, we can never reach silence to actually hear Bhagwan, to feel Bhagwan. I'm going to change the terminology. Jnana is seeing Bhagwan in a murti, which all of us are habituated to doing. Vijnana is seeing Bhagwan in your manaha, to feel Bhagwan as the light in your mind. For all of those who receive the e-vichara, tomorrow I'll be sending it out. And it's actually how the formulation of a thought starts with para all the way to vaikari, which means from just a thought near Brahman to actually speaking it out. When you feel Bhagwan in the manaha, that's vijnana. And I'm going to change the terminology one more time. Jnana is calling yourself a bhakta. Vijnana is knowing that you are a shishya. A bhakta is someone who loves God and also loves the world, which really means adultery. They have two spouses. But a shishya, they only love God, and it's in God's form that they see the rest of the world. This chapter is not for bhaktas. This chapter is trying to wake us up to become shishyas, to become disciples. And this is how this chapter ends, with this message that Bhagwan is saying, Arjuna, stop thinking about yourself and start thinking about me. Stop living selfishly, identifying with the ego and the expressions. Identify with the self and the expressions. Reviewing last week, one of Puja Swami Chinmayananda's batchmates, his Guru Bhais, his name is Swami Satchidananda. And he's famous, he's known for establishing Yogaville in Virginia. People learn Yogasana there. And Swami Satchidananda uses this example that if you take a prison, you have the people in the prison, correct? And they're in front of the cells, they have walls around them, there's wires around them. And he says, if you see the guards, they're also experiencing the same. They also have the bars and the walls and the wire. But the prisoners and the guards have very different attitudes within that prison. And even within the prisoners, because we're all thinking the guards can leave, the prisoners can't leave. But within the prisoners, some people there, they're trying to get out of there as soon as possible. And there's a propensity to come back there. But some people are actually there for reformation. And taking this to the different types of bhaktas, you have the artha bhakti, the person who wants to get out of adversity, but they're really not loving God. You have the artharthi, the person who wants to be in prosperity, but not loving God. Then you have the jnani. That person's focus is on reformation, on evolution. They don't want to come back to prison. They don't want to be reborn. And then the person who actually is able to do that is called jignasu and then jnani. You have the jignasu who wants it and the jnani who did it. This world is also a prison, no? And it's only if you love self-development, if you love the self, that we will become that jignasu to focus on reformation and evolution, where we will become jnanis, where it's not that I think God is everywhere, but I know God is everywhere. And a tactile way to begin to feel this is to feel the hand of God in all that we do. It's the hand of God that brought your family to you. It's the hand of God that brought you to the city you're in. It's the hand of God that you're sitting in this class right now. To start to see the hand of God in every experience. And if you start to see the hand of God, then to hold on to that hand. Not to see the hand of God, then look the other way or run away. If you start to see the hand of God, to hold on to that and don't let go. We sometimes see the hand of God, but then we get distracted. Distracted by karma, and the punya that comes with it. Karma facilitates my experience in the world, but never takes me past the world. Punya, or merit, facilitates my experience in the world, but it doesn't lead me to that which is beyond papa and punya. Be careful about what you're doing. Whatever you seek, you are going to reach that. If we're just seeking a position, that's what we'll get, and nothing more. This chapter, as we come to a completion, is focusing not on Twam anymore. It's not on Prince Arjuna. It's not on Karma Kanda. It's not about being dharmic in the world. It's about going past all of this, beyond, para. I'm on sections 7:10 and 7:11. We began this chapter trying to understand creation. From the unmanifest came the manifest, and we used particular terminology to describe how the unmanifest becomes manifest. The unmanifest becomes manifest through the tattvas. Yes, in English, the elements. And another word for tattva is tanmatra, which is another word for elements. We are experiencing creation through our instruments. When you close your eyes, your experience of creation is less. If you close your ears, it's even less. When you're sleeping, the only creation you're experiencing is not outside, but inside. You are using your instruments to experience creation, but due to association with these instruments, we stop remembering that we're using the instruments and we start to believe that we are the instruments. Using the instruments and being the instruments is completely different. And when we forget that we're using instruments, when we start to believe we're being instruments, that's when we forget the truth. Now, coming back to those words, tattva, what's contained within the word tattva? Tat. Tattva is that which is like tat. Tat here means Bhagwan. Tat means infinity. Like sattva, that which is like sat. Tanmatra is actually tat matra. Matra means simply, or in essence. Tanmatra is really simply that which is tat, that which is divine. So all of this creation in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, in North America, the world, Mars, the multiverse, all of this is simply Bhagwan. If you're aware that you're using your instruments. But if you forget that, we start to think that Bhagwan is in a mandir and I'm not there. We're bhaktas but not shishyas then. It's not that we don't know that God is infinite or that God is creation. It's not that we don't know that. But our knowing of that is known as samanya. What does samanya mean? Ordinary or general. We have this general understanding that God created us. God is the one who runs the rules and so on. What Pujya Swami Tejomayananda really tries to emphasize in Atma Bodha is that samanya jnana brings little benefit to it. Which is why that general understanding has to turn into vishesha jnana, into extraordinary or specific insights that Bhagwan is here, this is how, my relationship with Bhagwan. That's where benefit comes to life. We're studying the science of happiness and we should be happy. Everyone here is happy. It's so funny when I say that everyone smiles almost sarcastically. No one actually genuinely gives a smile. Everyone's kind of giggling to themselves. Even here everyone's hitting each other. Yeah, I think we're happy. What happens is that we don't experience that benefit, so what we do is we pull down the philosophy to our convenience. And what that looks like is you take the philosophy of yoga and you just focus on the asana. But what do you still call it? Yoga, no? When I'm very relaxed because everything outside is smooth, I say, I'm in moksha. See how something that's infinite, we pull it down to our convenience. That's called aviveka. And it's because we have this general feeling of divinity, but not the specific feeling of divinity. You know why all of this is happening? What's our favorite excuse? What's a favorite excuse in Vedanta for why we're not experiencing Brahman? Maya, right? Maya is the reason why we're not experiencing Brahman. Do you remember what Maya means? That which is not. So that's like me blaming someone who doesn't exist. You know, I'm overweight because of this person who doesn't exist over here. We keep ourselves in Maya. To blame an X factor, which is known as Maya, is not fair. We keep ourselves in Maya by living a life of convenience. And you know what convenience is characterized by? Likes and dislikes. I like doing japa, but I dislike doing dhyana. So I don't do it then. I like virtual classes, but physical classes are not my scene. Likes and dislikes. It is a characteristic of convenience. Convenience means I generally know God, but I don't know God the way that God is, which really means I'm stuck on jnana, but there is no vijnana. There's a really powerful example that Swami Tejomayananda gives about Maya and Brahman. He says that clouds are created by the sun, and the same clouds block the sun from our perspective, isn't it? Maya depends on Brahman. If there was no Brahman, there'd be no Maya. Yet that same Maya inhibits us from experiencing, as if experiencing, Brahman. Very strange. And whenever we think about this, whenever we hear this, we just feel hopeless. If 1 in 1,000 people are steady, and out of those 1,000 steady people, 1 is sincere, so that's 1 in 1,000,000, then if there's 2 people from Chicago and only 1 of them is enlightened, then if that person is more enlightened and I'm less, then I'm hopeless, right? The feeling of hopelessness is Maya. Because hopelessness keeps one in the world. I've used many times in this class itself that we have to go beyond the world. That means to rise, but hopelessness is to fall. It is to stay in the world. Instead of focusing on Maya, focus on Brahman. Instead of focusing on hopelessness, focus on hope. And who's a great icon of hope in Sanatana Dharma? Who's an icon of hope? Acharya Shankara, good. Anyone else? No icons of hope. Bhagwan's looking like this in every icon. Who's an icon of hope? Hanumanji, no? In Ramayana, everyone has a finger pointed at them. Bhagwan Rama, Mother Sita, but nobody points fingers at Hanumanji. He is an icon of hope. And we chant this every time. You're the one who can turn Durgama into Sugama. You are that hope that makes that which is difficult easy. Hope is what takes us from a general feeling of Bhagwan to a special feeling of Bhagwan. I was sharing that I'm in Cleveland right now. Every other month that I come to Cleveland, we have a full committee meeting. All of our steering committee, our working committee, our teaching committee. And when I was present this past Sunday, there must have been 150 people who were present at our rented school. And Chinmaya Mission Cleveland began in January of 2014. We're only 3.5 years old, essentially. And already 150 people with discipline. I had shared that with them, and even here I'm speaking in front of my kids openly about this. And what moved me the most was at the end of the meeting, I asked each person just to share a question, to share a thought. And uniformly, they were sharing that we used to worry about where our center is going to go, but we just don't worry anymore. I told them at our 5th year, we should have $100,000, we should be an independent center, we should look for our own ashram. And everyone said, Bhagwan will make it happen. Hope. What a beautiful feeling of hope. And it's not just words. That's what we have to open our eyes to, that Bhagwan is not in a murti. Bhagwan is to be brought into our minds. This is why I share that we keep ourselves stuck to Maya. To understand and appreciate our knowledge that God is infinite will help us to take us out of this world, to help us to take us to tattva, tat matra. Negativity is wasteful. Maya is likes and dislikes. Likes and dislikes are a form of negativity. Bhagavan Krishna is trying to lift Prince Arjuna up to not feel hopeless, to not feel negativity for us in a very tactile way, to start to feel kripa. What does kripa mean? Grace. It is only through grace one begins to feel hope. Hope comes from Hanumanji. It is anugraha that turns durgaman to sugama. And where there's kripa, kripa manifests as vichara. Those people who have grace in their lives, they are thinkers, they're examiners. Swami Satchidananda says they're analysts. They begin to analyze their own thoughts. They begin to analyze their own lives. We have worldly analysts, but you should be an analyst for yourself. So it started with kripa. Kripa manifests as vichara. And vichara manifests as pramana. Rishi Patanjali, in his Yoga Sutras, says there's 3 types of ways to feel knowledge. And he says pratyaksha, anumana, and shabda. Pratyaksha means experience. Anumana means inference, logic, rationale. And then finally is shabda or shastra, what our wise rishis, the people who love us, have documented. The fact that we're in a Bhagavad Gita course that has been organized by the unbroken Guru Shishya Parampara shows that for all of us, kripa is there, vichara is there, and pramana is there. Feel hopeful. Bhagavan Krishna completes chapter 7 by introducing words that describe him. Words that describe Bhagavan Krishna. And these become the sutras that then become expanded in chapter 8. And he introduces words that describe him so that Arjuna stops thinking about himself. This is a subtle way of how a master weans one's identification from one's own body to their body. Have you ever thought about why Bhagavan Krishna is so sweet? Everybody here likes sugar, correct? Have you ever thought about why Bhagavan Krishna is so handsome? Because by looking at him, then we can start to want to know, what is his personality like? Have you ever noticed why Bhagavan is always smiling? Do you like looking at people who frown all the time? This is why I look at the camera and I don't look at anybody else around me or in front of me. This is the methodology for a master to wean our thoughts from ourselves to them. I've experienced this constantly in my life, where when I'm with Pujya Swami Tejamananda, with Guruji, that a group of people will be in the room. And this person will say, my daughter dances, or I got to go on this vacation, or whatever it may be. And Swamiji will not give so much focus on that. He'll bring that scene back to himself or back to Gurudev. I once had shared with Swami Tejamananda that, such and such person had gone on a helicopter. And he goes, I once got to ride on a helicopter with Swami Chinmaya. And initially you may think he's feeling FOMO. That's why he's saying that. But he's not, okay? For all of those people who are thinking otherwise, it's because one shouldn't be thinking about themselves with the master. Isn't it? One message that I felt constantly from Swami Swarupananda, who's now the head of Chinmaya Mission, is implicit obedience to one's master. And he describes it not just as obedience, implicit obedience to those who are wise. Otherwise, it's just a game of egos, correct? The same ego that I have in the workplace, I have the same ego in the ashram too. And that's what Bhagavan Krishna is lovingly pulling away from Arjuna, is that feeling of he's important. Who's important? Only Bhagavan. That's where you go from a bhakta to a shishya. And I'll tell you one more narration related to this. At the end of the Mahabharata, the battle of the Mahabharata, there's a tradition that the charioteer opens the cart door for the warrior, the winning warrior. And the charioteer puts their hands like this to form a step for the warrior to step on those hands and then step on the ground. It's a tradition, right? Like kissing the Stanley Cup as an example. The captain gets to kiss the Stanley Cup first, or they drink Gatorade out of the cup. So when Prince Arjuna had won, then he's standing, he's happy, he's confident, and he's looking at Bhagavan Krishna. And Bhagavan Krishna is just looking around, enjoying his creation. And Arjuna's kind of like coughing, like, looking like he should do that. And Bhagavan Krishna just dusting off his shoulders. So Arjuna, looks for his attention again. And Bhagavan then says, just step off the chariot. Very transparent. Cousins, they're talking as cousins. So he comes off the chariot. And as soon as Bhagavan comes off the chariot too, what happens? That chariot bursts into flames. It disintegrates in a moment. And Arjuna is stunned by this. And he looks to Bhagavan, and Bhagavan smiling now, I told you so. And he explains to Prince Arjuna that, think about how much negativity was directed at that chariot. How many wives, mothers, etc., would have sent that negativity that you've defeated my husband, you've killed my son, in the name of war, in the name of dharma. And who was the one who was insulating Arjuna from all of that negativity? Bhagavan. This is the role of the Guru Shishya Parampara. The Guru Shishya Parampara is trying to insulate us from our own egos, from Maya. Our lifestyles have to match this teaching. This is not just a teaching. Our lifestyles have to match this teaching. And this is exactly what Yajnavalkya tells his wife, Maitreyi. Atma va are drashtavya. All that is to be known. Husband telling his wife, all that is to be known. He says nothing about himself. He says all that is to be known is the Atma.